The Mud Peddlers, a podcast where two nerdy ceramic artists share the behind the scenes of their worlds of clay. We're your hosts, Lindsey M Dillon.
And I am Donte of Earth Nation.
Today on The Mud Peddlers.
Hi!
We are going to be talking about handles.
Yes.
So, similar to the episode that we did a while back about feet on pottery.
Feet on pottery.
Yes.
Calm down.
Yeah, I cannot. So we're basically just talking about, functionality, style, just things to consider when you're making pieces and you have handles.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain style of handle that I like. I've never changed I've always been like, this is the handle I'm making. And unless someone comes up to my table, which is a whole rant I'll give you later, I promise.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, no, this is the handle. If you don't like the handle, because everyone thinks everyone thinks the handle they make is the handle that everyone else likes.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's so true, dude. And people are so... I feel like people care less about the feet on pottery unless it's like, if you do not attend to your foot, which is true. I mean, you gotta attend to the feet.
Unless you're a foot narcissist or something, I don't know.
Yeah, which, is fair. I pay a lot of attention to my feet. I'm sorry. This is just episode is gonna... I cannot. So, people care less about feet, I feel like, but with
100%.
But with handles, people are, real particular about handles.
Yeah, you'll always, remember I was talking last episode about the craft fair?
Yeah.
They are the most handle-centric people ever at craft fairs.
But it's important. It's the part of the mug that you're gonna be in contact with. So it's if you have that style of handle that you like. I appreciate many different styles of handles.
Yes.
But there are definitely... Anyway, I acknowledge that people are very, people often have their this is the way a handle should be, and I'm here to be there are many different ways one can do a handle.
They think their preferred handle is those people, I call them mug cuddlers. Those
mud cuddlers.
Mug cuddlers.
Don't hate on mud.
They don't
cuddlers.
use the handle for carrying the drink anywhere or stability. They just put their hand through it and they're
Okay, I'm totally that person.
I know, everyone is that person.
It's wintry vibes, it's cozy.
Anyone?
You got your little hand mitts on.
I'll tell you what,
sipping cocoa.
if you wear, what's those lumberjack?
Carhartt?
No, not Carhartt. That's a good guess though. What was lumberjack-esque checkered shirts?
Oh my god, plaid.
If you wear plaid, you're a mug cuddler, 100%.
I wear plaid, I am a mud cuddler.
Yeah, there's no way. If I ever see you come to my table and you wear plaid and you start looking at the handles, I'm like, oh, you're just looking for a big round handle so you can stick your whole hand through it so you can warm part of your hand and you can put your elbows to your sides and go, so warm in the winter.
That's because it's warm.
Go to your family and be like, this is my winter mug. Oh.
See, you're being hella judgy, and I'm just saying I'm that person. So you're talking to me right now, Donte.
I'm sorry. You're good. My handles are often, I'm looking at yours right now, my handles are pretty much like yours where they have a high arch.
Yeah.
So you're almost forced to use your wrist to stabilize the cup if you're holding it by the handle.
Yeah. Okay, so backing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm asking, I know of course, but
Yeah,
I'm asking for the sake of our listeners.
Right.
Do you roll out your handles as a slab or do you pull your handles?
I pull them because, it's just, for some reason, I'm more familiar with the motion of pulling a handle.
Can't imagine why.
Me either. Oh God, don't know. I feel sorry for the people that don't get it right now.
Oh, it's okay. Somebody will tell them.
I hope not. I hope you're in the dark. I hope you're in the dark forever.
That's a beautiful ignorance. Anyway.
But yeah, no, I figured there's a couple different ways to pull a handle that I usually see. Mm-hmm. There's the people who take out the long strand of it, they pull and they put it on the table, they wait until it dries, and then they form it.
Yeah, that's like a Florian Gadsby thing.
Right.
He pulls out a long hand, a super, super long handle,
yes,
and then cuts that strip that essentially he pulls into multiple pieces.
Yes.
And then waits for them to dry a little bit, and then further pulls them by attaching them to the cup and then pulling them.
Right, and then there's what I do, where I roll carrots, I pull out a handle, I curve it on itself, because clay has a memory, and my brain's like, well, if you dry in the position that you're supposed to be in at the end of this journey, you won't crack as much, which, granted, it's not that much, but it's enough for me to be like, that's a little bit of wiggle room that I could work with, you know?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Put it on a board on itself, and it essentially stays upright until you're ready to put it there. There's the extruder people. They extrude, and then they...
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? There's...
Well, we should... This part, I feel like we should go into a bit more detail about this, because, like, there are so many different ways of doing handles, and I feel like...
Like 17.
There is a bunch. And I do feel like even just, like, the simple... I just want to slow it down and
I am
say,
going
like,
fast. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. There's a lot of information. So, but I'm just thinking, like, to kind of further detail why that arch matters. Is that, like, I mean, if you've worked with clay at all, you kind of know that as clay dries, it becomes less plastic. It's more prone to cracking.
Yes.
So if you put it into the shape that it needs to be in at first, then you don't have to worry about later as you are shaping it about it cracking. So that's why you pull it, and I do the same thing. When I pull my handles, I then kind of put them into the general kind of arc shape that I want them to be in.
It's the same reason I wedge. Like, I want to get the memory out. I want to warm up the clay and align and move the platelets around, right? So, like, just here's a good experiment you can do at home, right? Pull 2 handles, okay? Put them down, like cut it off like a regular handle without a cup on it. Put it down flat on the table, sideways, like flat laying down, not vertically whatsoever. And mark where the end of one side is and the end of the other side is. The 2 attach points, essentially. With like a little pen or something, and just leave it there for like days upon days upon days. When you come back, the lines are going to be completely different. It will have moved a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Because
the more it dries, the more... Essentially.
Yeah. So not only is the shape changing because it's shrinking, but it's changing because the actual, like, I don't know the
memory.
The memory, but like the platelets, I guess you could say. I don't know if that's the right term.
No, the science term.
Yeah, science terms. You're better with that than I am.
Tiny bit, but not a lot.
But essentially the particles in the clay curve to meet their memory.
Yeah.
So,
essentially, yeah. And I just don't want them, like, I never want to dry something in a state in which it would not be its final form, because then I have to move it. I have to move the clay around, and it's like, yo, man, I was another position a while ago. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's like, imagine getting up in the morning when you're like super tired. You just spent the last, yesterday you were gaming all day in your chair, and you went to bed without stretching, and then you get up and you immediately try and touch your toes. That's not gonna. Yeah, that's not gonna do.
Not gonna work out. You ever get up too fast?
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, not me. I'm built different. But like,
of course.
No, definitely not.
So, extruders. So, let's talk a little bit about that.
I love extruder people because they said no. They said I would much rather get like $50 worth of material. And I saw somebody on Instagram like make their own extruder size.
Oh, that's cool.
They had a metal cutter and they basically cut out, this is what all my handles should be. So, I want all my handles to be shaped like this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get a form, get a metal cutter, metal, cut it out.
Yeah.
And then use that little circle in the extruder and just push it out, and that's the handle.
Yeah. Like a little handheld extruder or
yes.
something. Do you know where people can buy those if, because like I don't have the materials to do metal cutting in my studio.
Yeah. I know that they come with them already, but they're essentially circles. Most extruders are just like circles.
Yeah, the only extruders that I've seen are like super tiny though. They're for like pushing out almost like spaghetti.
You can
size.
buy larger.
Oh, okay.
Larger ones.
So but just like a common ceramic supply store, you could probably find something.
Yeah, if you type in like extruder, don't tell them you're going to use it for ceramics because they'll try and upsell you. But like, you can just buy a regular extruder and then, buy the little applications to it that have the bigger holes. But it's kind of like the chair thing I mentioned quite some time ago, where it's like, if you want a pottery stool, it's like $200.
Yeah.
But if you go to IKEA and buy the same exact stool, it's like $30.
Oh, okay.
But the second you're like, it's for pottery, they're like, oh, okay, well, here's an upsale.
Yeah, no, that's true. Same thing with like wedding cakes. Okay, so some of the advantages of getting an extruder, I'm thinking, are that you get the same shape every single time.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know this from my own personal experience, and folks, you probably can connect to this to some degree as well, but like if you're pulling all of your handles, eventually you develop the muscle memory. Sorry, I know I'm doing the hand motion right now. I'm sorry, Donte.
Yo, that's crazy.
What? Oh my god. I am a mature adult. I'm not. Neither am I.
I'm still mad about Harambe and Pluto.
What? Oh my god! Wow!
Pissed. I'm not an adult.
You're dating us. You're dating us
sorry,
right now.
Sorry.
Anyway, if you pull your handles consistently enough, I'm doing the hand motion again. If you pull your handles and you do enough of them, eventually you'll develop the muscle memory to get them essentially the same, like very close, but it takes a while to get to that point, which is part of the reason why I did slab handles for a while, which we'll get to, a little later in the episode.
No, we can mask off, do it.
Yeah, okay, well I will, but I want to get back, I want to talk about like extruding.
Oh, sorry.
So, but when you use an extruder, you basically bypass that human variability element and you get the same shape every time.
And like, granted, like you were saying, you'll get it. Like my handles come out the same every time, but I have the ability to, based on just how much pressure I put on the clay body and how much clay I have, to make it like, oh, this pull is thicker. This pull is harder to make the handle more flat.
Yes.
Okay, this one's a bit more round, so I want this one. So I can make multiple different types of handles while pulling a single block of handles if I felt like it, because I have the experience, because I don't use extruders.
Yeah.
But with an extruder, you get consistency. Yeah. That's essentially the trade-off, right?
Yeah. And quick consistency as opposed to...
It takes a couple seconds to pull out an extruder. But for me, to pull a handle, and I like to think I'm really good at pulling handles. It takes like a minute and a half to 2 minutes to pull a handle.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. If you're like really quick at it and you have a source of water next to you and things of that nature. Now, you like to use slab handles.
It depends on the project that I'm doing.
Because a slab handle to me is like a flat piece of clay, right?
It is. So there's a couple different ways that I have approached handles in the past. And I guess one thing that I'll just kind of say broadly is that one of the biggest advantages of pulling your handles is that you can get a taper. So like if you've ever seen one of my steins, and of course here they're sitting in front of us right now, the part of the handle that's closest to the top is, probably a third thicker than the attachment point at the bottom.
Looks way more elegant.
Thank you.
Honestly,
thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel so glorious indeed.
Indubitably.
Yes.
Who's that guy from Regular Show? Pops?
Yes, indeed. But so if you're doing a slab handle or you're doing a extruded handle, then you can't get that taper. The only way you'd be able to get that taper if you wanted it is to, after you attach the handle itself, you'd have to add more clay around the part, which is, its own whole style for sure. Yeah. It would just be another step in the process. And again, I feel like it depends on, okay, how much time do you want to put into the piece? What's the price point you want it to be at? So like how much time do you want to commit to, doing the handle? But with slabs, so basically what I used to do with slab handles is I'd take clay, I'd roll it out into a coil about, I don't know, maybe 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch thick. And then I would take 2 rulers that are like...
I've seen that. You do that. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. So those rulers that I use as gauges, but you can, like, if you wanted to go to like a hardware store and pick up dowels, you could use those as a guide as well.
Thicker rulers, question mark?
Yeah, basically, yeah. But the rulers that I was using were, I think, about 1/3 inch thick. So I'd put those on either side, and then I would use a rolling pin, and starting at the center of the coil, I would roll out and then roll towards me, roll out, roll towards me. So I would end up with a slab of clay that was about, 1/3 inch thick, and usually 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch wide.
You see, I started doing slabs a while back, and I was like, how does Lindsey do this?
Yeah, it's actually, when I do loop handles, it's still my preferred method of making slabs. Yeah, and basically because it's a way for me to, kind of like with the extruder, I quickly get a consistent shape, and it just increases the speed at which I can produce handles.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, and all that you have to do, like after you roll it out, is just take a little bit of water and just like smooth down the sides, because sometimes you'll get like a little bit of a hard edge.
Yeah, because it's slab built.
Right, because it's slab built. Yeah, so I just kind of run my fingers down the sides, flip the slab over, and then rub my fingers down the other side, and that just smooths out the hard edge. But I started using that method actually from looking at the work of Mike Cinelli.
Oh yeah.
I
know Mike, yeah.
I love his work. So my handles, when I do them with the loop in the slab built method, are much less complex than what Mike does. But when I made all of my cafe ware for Insight coffee roasters, that's the technique that I used.
Just for speed.
Yeah, for speed, and also just for comfortability, because I don't know, I just found that it was a more comfortable handle for what I wanted to go for, and it also, like you're saying, was speedy.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. But part of the reason I started moving away from that for my other mugs, because for a while, like, I was using that slab built method for my steins, for my, regular mugs. But I started pulling my own handles again, frankly, because the little, like, on a big stein, a 3/4 of an inch thick, or not 3/4 of an inch thick, 3/4 of an inch wide and 1/3 of an inch thick handle felt kind of dinky.
Yes.
And compared to like a chunker of a stein.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like part of building a handle is figuring out, okay, what's the style of the cup you're making, and then how do I make a handle that fits that style?
It's like you have an elegant mug and you want to put like a chunky handle on it. It's not to say you can't do that. It's just like, kind of looks a little mismatched sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was actually a time in which I hated making handles.
Really?
Oh my god, I hated it so much.
Tell me about it.
So I was trained by Yoshio, right?
Uh-huh.
But like, mugs are definitely an Americanized thing, and I don't mean Americanized as in like only Americans do it.
Oh,
Americanized as in like, for some strange reason, people who will not use a mug handle still want a mug handle.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And Yoshio's philosophy, or at least he said this to me once, he could very easily have changed his mind by now, was like, look, man, you don't really need a handle on a mug. And I go, that's just a big teacup. He goes, exactly. Like, you don't need the handle. The handle is only for transport in case the liquid is too hot. But realistically speaking, it's either for that, comfortability, but like, you shouldn't be if the liquid burns your hand when you touch the mug, shouldn't be going in your mouth.
Yeah. I don't know. But like, I feel like there are times where it's like, especially if I have tea, the ceramic itself will hold on to the heat longer than the tea does.
Yes.
And so it's like, I can have a hot tea that is comfortable to put in my mouth, but it's still too hot to like wrap my hand around.
No, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Okay, all right. Well, that's
I don't know if I can verify that one there.
Well, that's my experience.
That's
so
fair.
That's something
I can't fight people who say it's their experience, because like, that's too personal.
Yeah.
That's too personal. I don't know what to do with that.
Well, yeah, okay. I hear what you're saying though, in terms of like the handle.
Listen, if you touch your cup and it burns your hand, don't put it in your mouth.
Well, yeah.
That's the rule.
Okay.
And you might need a handle to carry it from one place to another. Or make it comfortable. That's fine.
Yeah, or hold on to it while you're waiting for it to cool off.
Or hold on to it while you're waiting for it to cool off. But as far as drinking it goes, just wait.
Okay,
just
all right.
wait.
I hear it.
And if you touch your cup and your brain's like, damn, this clay hot, drink's probably fine though.
Hold up.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So I went through a phase where I was like, I don't see the functionality of a handle. I can just be patient. I can just wait.
Yeah.
Right? But then after a while I realized that like, people like handle, especially Americans. They like big cups and they like handles. The two things I've learned about Americans.
I think we're getting into Donte's rant zone.
We are.
We'll come back to technique in a moment, but I want to hear what you have to say.
The two things that I've learned about, and I'm American, but like also, you guys will get a large amount of liquid and then never finish it. You will get like a 24 ounce big gulp, whatever. There's somebody right now who's like, it's like 63, whatever. And you'll leave like 10 to 15 ounces at the bottom of the cup.
Yeah.
And you'll almost never finish it. And if you do, God bless you. Because you bought something that you were going to use properly.
Yes.
It's not my, and the other one is like, most of the time, most of you are not using the handle for what, like, not drinking. Like, I'm using this handle, it's stable, I'm using its handle. A lot of you like to cuddle the mug. Or you use it for stability.
I feel like you're making Okay.
I am. I feel like generalizations.
Because, like, literally,
half of them right now are listening to this. They're like, yeah, that's me. Yeah.
I mean, some, but like,
all of you.
I don't know if you have the data to back up that most people don't use the handle.
I don't have the data.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more of you than I would like existing out there, not using the handle, but you refuse to buy a cup without a handle.
So when you went through your phase of not making handles, did you start making them again because people were like not buying the pieces without the handles?
No, it's because I'm one of the mug people who don't use it. So I don't know.
No, but like, why did you start using it? Why did you start making handles on your pieces again? That's what I mean.
For stability.
Oh.
100%. So like I started, like, I would handle my cup, right? And then it'd be too hot for my hand, and I'm like, well, clearly I'm not putting that in my mouth. So I would start holding, and they're not going to see this. I would start holding my cup. This is how I hold my cups.
Oh, okay. So basically,
Usually.
for our listeners, essentially putting your
My thumb.
Yeah, put it like cupping the bottom of the foot with your hand, and then putting your thumb through the lower part of the handle.
Yeah, it's just for stability.
Yeah.
And to carry it around. That's it. That's the only reason. But like, if I didn't need that, I wouldn't make handles. That's fair. Somebody showed me this on Instagram. My favorite type of handle at the moment, because I'm sure it'll change, is where you make a handle like a regular high arch handle.
Yeah, and high arch, like, just in case people aren't sure what that looks like. 'Cause again, this is an audio medium. It's very difficult sometimes because, what can I say? I'm sorry to our former YouTube viewers when we used to record the video.
I don't feel sorry. You should have liked the videos.
No. It's not even like that. No, because the people who watched, liked all the videos. But no, it's just
video didn't blow up. How come you didn't share the YouTube video?
Not gonna lie, my life is much better with not having to edit all those videos every couple of weeks. Yeah, way easier. Anyway, so a high arch handle, like, could you describe that physically?
Yeah, so if you're looking at like a regular, I'm gonna call it beginner, even though this is not true, but a regular beginner handle is usually just half of a circle on the middle of a mug, right?
Oh, okay.
So it's just a big roundy.
Yeah.
Imagine if you took the top part of that circle and just kind of tucked it upwards as if you were tucking up a shirt, right?
So it looks a little bit more like a question mark.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's a way better way than I would put it.
I kind of like you're tucking up just a shirt thing, but yeah.
It's basically a sideways, it's like a 45-degree angle question mark on a mug, honestly. And that's a high arch handle. What I really like is when you make that arch, right?
Yeah.
Somebody showed me you take that, still wet, you're touching it, you turn it upside down.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that's a new experience. And you turn it upside down and you take the smallest part, the part that would be attached at the bottom.
And do a little curly.
You do a little curly. And I can stick my thumb through that, and it feels so great.
God. Oh, I know which part you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Oh, that's yeah.
Because the arch at the bottom of the mug instead leaves it just enough room for your thumb to be comfortable to stick it through. But if you take the tail of the
handle,
the bottom of the question mark essentially, and you upside down and put it more towards the center of the mug, it feels so comfortable for your thumb. But that's only if you're a weirdo like me who holds your cups at the bottom and then sticks your thumb through, Yeah. You'll usually only see me carrying a mug like that if I'm transporting it somewhere. I will almost never drink the 1940s working man who's like, my coffee. Like holding it to the side as if he's throwing a hook shot.
I think you're making this way of drinking coffee or drinking any liquid seem way less common than it actually is.
No, listen, there's at least a third of you. I don't have data to back that up. There's at least a third of you who cuddle the mug, you mug cuddlers, and you just stick your hand. You're not using the handle. You know you don't. I'm looking directly into your soul right now.
I feel it. I feel it.
You and your 2 cats.
Don't hate on my cats. Okay, so we've talked about a little bit about pulling handles and the benefits of that. Yep. We've talked about doing slab handles. We've talked about using an extruder.
Extruder people build different. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Extruder people are like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. What's I guess another way that you could do handles I'm thinking of is you could literally just roll out a coil of clay. Yeah. And that's another way that you can get a taper, because you can have one side thicker than the other and then just curl it. And then I know you before, and now I'm starting to wonder whether, I'm pretty sure at some point earlier in the Mud Peddlers, we had like a little sub-segment on handles, because I remember talking about this, but I don't think we did a full episode.
No.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, I looked all through the old episodes and I was like, okay, what are we going to talk about? But now anyway, hopefully we're not repeating too much, but.
And if you are just joining us in the Mud Peddlers, here you go as a revamp.
Yeah. So another method that I've heard you talk about is just getting a trimming tool, getting a block of clay, and just cutting it across.
I love that because, so first of all, yes.
Yeah.
Second of all, I love it because a company, I think it was Diamond Core, finally caught on to old school potters doing that and was like, we can make a tool out of that.
Yup.
And they did, but like people who are just initiated into pottery are like, oh, look at this super cool tool. So I made a YouTube video on the tool, right? And then I was like, I'm just gonna show everyone. I just got a regular trim tool, got a block of clay, and just like gouged out a giant piece of clay. And I was like, this is the same thing that this tool does.
Yeah.
But without $50.
Well, the only difference too, though, is that the diamond, because I actually looked at maybe buying one.
Yes.
The diamond core tools, they are made to give you slightly different shapes. So you could get you can be more precise about the shape of handle that you want from buying one of the diamond core tools, as opposed to using a regular old trimming tool. But if you're wanting a more simple design, then you can use the regular trimming tool without having to spend the money on like a diamond core tool.
Here's my pseudo argument to that, and it's not really an argument, it's more of just like a side point.
Yeah.
There are hundreds of different shapes of trim tools. I see very little difference in between a diamond core tool that has a shape so you can gouge out clay and just buying a different shape of trim tool. I could very easily, like, in my brain, I'm just like, that's just another shape of a trim tool. But it's specifically for this one thing. And I don't see much of a benefit other than it making a specific shape that it gives me that I could just buy I can buy a different shape of trim tool, a Kemper trim tool.
Yeah.
$10-15, and it just gives me a different shape of a handle if I do the same. It's just the action.
But it's not the, like, because I feel like a lot of the other trimming tools are not made to be handle shaped.
That is fair.
They're made to be, like, to trim away clay.
I agree.
But the shapes for diamond core are made to, like, this looks like a handle.
They're made to facsimile handles.
Yes.
The thing that Yoshio taught me a long time ago is, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember bags of clay used to come with these little metal...
Yeah.
Okay, they stopped doing that recently, which I get. It's like a waste of material, realistically. But... he got one of those and put it in like a certain shape and then gouged out the clay.
Oh, that's nifty.
He sculpted metal and was like, here's a different shape, and here's a different shape, and here you go.
Yeah.
He's the one who taught me how to do that.
Oh, that's cool.
So when Diamond Core came out with it, I was like, that's tight.
Yeah.
But I feel like...
This is what, coming back to our episode that we did on tools. This is like luxury versus necessity versus...
Hyper-specific.
Yeah. One of the things I wonder too, and I'm curious, like, if you listener have ever used the Diamond Core tools, and actually I guess, well, Donte, for you too, I guess I can ask, because
they're so good.
Well, since you use the loop tools just trimming tools in general.
I have like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah. So I'm curious, have you ever had issues with like memory? Because if you were taking a block of clay and you're just gouging out a strip of clay, does that clay ever try and like revert to a different shape as it's drying or in the bisque firing? Because if that clay hasn't been wedged, I mean, obviously it's been like, it was wedged at some point because it was then compacted into a bag of clay.
It was compacted into a square.
Yeah.
And then what we want for comfortability, like a third of the reason we wedge, because realistically a lot of people say like, oh, you're getting the air bubbles out.
Yeah.
And you're the clay. And I'm like, kind of, but they kind of already de-air it for you at the company.
Yeah.
You're really just trying to get, number one, the clay platelets to align. Number two, you're warming the clay. Number three, you're getting the memory out. Number four, you're putting it into a ball so that it's more comfortable for you to throw with. But like, realistically speaking, the memory of that cube that they put it in, right? Doesn't affect it that much.
Oh, okay.
But I also wedge my clay anyway.
Yeah.
And then I gouge it.
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of a wedge head, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I probably wedge more than I need to be honest, because I know there are some production potters who, don't wedge, but they'll center, they'll wheel wedge.
Oh yeah,
but they won't
up and down.
Yeah, but they won't wedge like before they put their like block of clay on the wheel.
You don't have to do either of them, but I would suggest most people, and this is a whole different talk, right?
Yeah.
Do one or the other, because coning up and down on the wheel is essentially wedging on the wheel.
Yeah, and that's coning up and down is like the process where when you're like learning how to center.
Yes.
It's like the up when you move the clay up and down
yes.
to get the clay centered. That's also called like wheel wedging,
yes.
and it basically does the same thing that wedging on like a wedging table or
And they take generally the same amount of effort. Realistically, I do both, but like realistically speaking, other than getting the memory out of the clay body. You don't have to. It's just for the experience of the potter. Like if I didn't warm up my clay and get the memory out and put it into a ball and I was just trying to throw from the square of the, you know what I mean? It would be such a bad throwing experience. I would hate it.
Well, okay, maybe for you, but I don't know if it's necessarily a bad throwing, like...
For everybody.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad throwing experience for everybody.
No, for everybody, yeah.
No,
100% of them would have a bad experience.
I'm pretty sure, and forgive me, okay, actually I'm not going to say who this artist is because I may be like like quoting them.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure there's an artist I follow online who like cuts the clay off of the square block and then just throws it from there. And
just squares it? Yeah. That's insane. Yeah. I mean, I've done that before, but then I'm like, crap, now I have to wedge it up and down again.
Yeah.
To get the memory out. I could have just wedged this. A buco di beppo.
Ma perché?
Now I have to wedge it on the wheel again anyway. Now I do my work for myself.
We are insulting an entire country right now. One in which
sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
I love Super Mario.
I love Italian as a language. I'm just not very good at it.
And pizza.
Provo.
I don't think pizza's from Italy, is it?
La lingua italiana.
I don't know.
Anyway, handles. Handles. Okay. I feel like we've gone over some of the basic, a variety of different ways that you can make handles.
Yeah.
What do you feel like are some of the biggest mistakes that people who are just learning how to make handles make, and how can we suggest to our dear listeners ways to overcome them?
Your drying time is a huge one.
Okay.
That's a huge one.
Tell me more.
Often people will leave their handles out to dry, and the body of your pot will not be the same dryness as your handle. And they'll try to mismatch them. They'll be like, oh, my cup, my mug is leather hard and this is leather soft. I'll put them together, they'll be fine with no cracks, right?
Yeah.
They won't. You know they won't. Mm-hmm. Just do it in the leather soft phase like a normal human being.
Mm-hmm. And if you need to rehydrate either, cause I end up doing this all the time during the summer.
I do a little Chico,
Yeah, but one of the things that I do that sort of mortifies some ceramic artists, because you can't always get away with this.
I've seen you do it.
Yeah, but what I often do is, because again, not only am I attaching handles to my mugs, but I also attach like a stamp. Mm-hmm. And especially during the summer, it's really hard to get all of those at the same temperature and avoid cracking. So because I use B-Mix with grog, and B-Mix with grog can put up with a lot of bowl, but what I do is, after I've attached the handle and after I've attached the stamp, if it feels like there's a little bit of a differentiation in the moisture level between any of those three, I just dunk the whole thing in water, like a bucket of water, real quick, like in and out, and I kind of hold it and I let the excess water drip off, and then I set it off to the side. But kind of like by rehydrating the whole thing, I feel like I tend to get less cracking, but also know that it is way safer to be a normal person and just spritz it down. Yeah. I'm just a weirdo.
You're just biding your time, really. Like I have, Lindsey and I, well, a lot of us do. We have these little tricks that give us like, oh, this will give me an hour more of work time if I do it in this specific way with this specific temperature, and it's 69 degrees outside, and it's, you know what I mean? Like it's just enough for me to get away with this one specific thing.
Yeah.
I did it the other day. I was making glaze. You know what I?
Yeah.
No.
Wait, okay.
That's a different talk for a different time. Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah. One of the things that I tend to notice with beginners' handles is that they're often kind of too big in proportion to the rest of the mug. Now, admittedly, how big you want your handles to be, I think is largely a stylistic choice. Like I think of artists like Miss Mary Alice, who has larger handles that usually are kind of like placed higher, very high arch. You could probably fit your whole hand through it, and like that's the style of cups that she's decided to develop. That's part of her style. Yeah. And if you I'm prefacing this to basically say that there's no quote unquote correct way or best way to do a handle, because again, everyone has their own style preferences.
There's no correct way, but Let's be clear, there is a way in which the majority of people would find it uncomfortable to use your handle.
Yes, but that may not always be the point.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. The functionality versus comfortability is definitely something that we should discuss.
Those who are married.
Sometimes. But, okay, I feel like oftentimes, again, like with beginner work, the proportion of the handle is generally too big for the shape of the cup.
Yes.
And I feel like in general, it's good to experiment. So if you're just kind of starting out, you're in your first, maybe year or something of working with clay, experiment. Like try
100%.
Try making your handles like a little bit smaller. See what it's like to make a handle where you can fit like 2 fingers into, as opposed to like your whole hand, or 3 fingers or 4, or like your whole. I know. I'm really trying to not.
I didn't say anything.
You had a look on your face.
That's just my face, Lindsey. That's just my face.
But point being, experiment. And I would say that if you were beginning, start out with a smaller size.
I mean, I like them a little bigger.
Donte!
I like them.
Donte! Anyway.
Yeah.
So are there any other beginner mistakes. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that, and then talk about functionality versus decor, or functionality versus style, like style over function or function over style.
I suppose this touches on both a little bit, but realistically speaking, whenever you have a body of clay or a pot or a profile, right, the majority of the time, and I'm saying the majority because I realize there's people out there who I don't do this sometimes. I have these handles called fat boy handles where I put the handle at the very bottom, and then the arch comes up away from the cup.
Oh, yeah.
If that makes sense, right? So the top of your handle that you're attaching, like the question mark, should at least be at the shoulder of your pot, or a tiny bit lower or a tiny bit higher. I meet a lot of beginners who will like the high arch handles.
Yeah.
But the arch will go above the top of the flipping cup of the mug.
Yeah, that's true. And again, that can be a stylistic choice.
100%.
But if you were starting out, that may be just a thing that you do automatically, as opposed to I know a variety of different handle choices and I'm choosing to do this one.
Yeah, it's not like a hard set rule, but like if you learn the rules, then you can comfortably break them for stylistic choice.
Yes.
But I often find beginners who are just like, I like high arch handles, and they'll put their teapot spouts, they'll put it above the whole ass teapot itself. Or they'll put their handles will be higher than the mug itself.
Yeah, so essentially the upper arch of the question mark goes above the lip of the cup.
Yeah, and like, you're doing it on an accident.
No,
you don't have to let. No, it's a stylistic, little kid in class. It's a stylistic choice. Look at me in the eye, little beginner. You did that on accident, and you just don't like to be caught with your pants down. That's fine.
I'm pretty sure if it's a student, that's the wrong metaphor to use.
You just don't want your head slapped.
Yeah.
Another one that I really like, but a lot of people tend to, I don't want to say mess it up, because like it's.
Well, again, we're talking about beginner stuff. Yeah. So
I talk in generals, and then I usually, but like if you want me to name every exception to the rule, it's gonna be a long podcast. All right. Is people who put the thumb rest on the top.
Oh, yeah.
I love thumb rests, but I don't do them because my cups are often not chunky enough to have thumb rests. If you put a thumb rest on a very elegant mug, it has to. It doesn't have to, but it often looks a little bit. It looks like you put a giant piece of clay on an elegant looking mug. So I get people who make, I guess pseudo steins. Like you make proper steins.
Yeah.
But often a student will be like, I want like a Viking looking, like a mead, and they'll put a thumb rest on the top, but they don't know where to put it or how to put it. They don't understand that the place in which you'd make the handle and the place in which your hand naturally rests should be the thumb distance away from the thumb rest.
Yeah.
So they'll often make the thumb rest and then make the handle. They'll do it backwards.
Oh,
does that make
interesting.
Sense?
I think so. So instead of attaching the handle first, they'll attach the place for the thumb.
Yes.
And then adjust the handle based on that.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
And I'm like, that's not really where the thumb rest goes. And like, yeah, it is. It's at the top of the handle. And I'm like, that's not really like based on the shape of your handle. That doesn't, And then they hold it, and they're like, wow, number one, this is heavy. No, number two, like my thumb doesn't naturally sit where I put the thumb rest. And I go, yeah, because it's not complementing your handle.
Yeah.
That's the difference, right?
That can also be tricky too. Like that's one thing that I've kind of struggled with like, cause I've never really made pieces with thumb rest really, but like everybody's hand is different too. Like, that's like, for me, that's something I struggle with. Is like, I don't know where to put the thumb rest cause everybody's hand is different. And I guess I have, I got lady hands, so they're smaller.
I used to make a knuckle rest. So I used to hold my mugs like this or like this. And I used to put a little thing right here.
Oh, that's nifty.
So the middle finger of my knuckle would sit on the inside of the handle where the cup there's like a space in between.
Yeah.
And that's where I would put it.
Oh, that's interesting.
And but it ended up just being weird. Like after 10 of those, I was like, that's kind of dumb.
It's an interesting idea though. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to style and function when making handles?
I guess.
Okay, I have lots of screenshots. There was one artist, I could not remember her name, who makes handles that I really, really like, but I took a bunch of screenshots of artists so that as we're discussing handle styles, we can recommend some artists to look out for reference.
Yeah.
So,
go on their gram.
Yeah, go on the gram or the TikToks. So
I love TikTok.
It's great.
The most popular TikTok part is just like stickers on mugs and then glaze over it, and I'm like, I love this so much.
All right, so style function. Where do we begin this?
I realistically don't know because style is really up to the individual, but function I could talk about all day.
Okay, well,
function I could be like, here are the general rules to making a mug, and then after that, you F off, do your own thing.
Okay, you go over function, and then I'll discuss some ideas about style. Okay. How's that sound?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Generally speaking, for me, there are two ways to make a mug. There's, of course, a mug realistically is just a large teacup with a handle on it. If you it's a large cylinder.
Yeah.
If
we're talking like function specifically of handles, though.
Oh, of handles.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Since we're.
I don't know. Do whatever you want. I don't know.
No, because well, you were talking about we were talking about thumb rest, we were talking about high arches versus, the semicircular shape. I mean, I feel like there are some quote unquote rules around functionality. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the difficulty is that everyone's hand shape is so different. And there seems to be a dichotomy of people who prefer their handles this way or that way. And everyone seems to think that the handle that they prefer is the way handles should be, period. Including myself, the hypocrite that I am. Including myself. That being said, I meet two different types of people. I meet people who usually use a lot of wrist strength. So they prefer high arch handles because they hold their mugs by the handle with their wrist.
Yeah.
So it kind of evens out with that wrist strength. It's hard.
Oh, I see.
Most people do this.
Yeah.
This is like the traditional.
Yeah. Okay. So how do we describe this to our viewers?
So my thumb is on the top. There's only two or three fingers going through the handle, and then my wrist is bent down a tiny, tiny bit downwards, maybe like a 10-degree angle.
And the fingers are fitting in the upper curve of the question mark of the handle. This is we're holding steins.
Yes. The high arch handle is literally meant for this style of holding, and some people like this. Some people have nice forearms and wrists, and they have strength. They crutch on that strength. You know what I mean? But there's also people who hold them like Lindsey holds them. Lindsey likes to put her whole hand through the mug. And so
not through the mug front ways.
Not
through
front
the mug
ways.
I basically
from behind.
Yeah. I wrap my hand so that the palm of my hand is around the downward slope of the question mark.
Yes.
And then my
your thumb isn't even vertical it's like to the side.
Yeah. My thumb is basically arching almost perpendicular to like the attachment point of where the handle attaches to the cup.
Your palm is almost touching the cup itself.
Yeah.
Like, you would probably benefit from one that doesn't have as high of an arch. Right? There's also people who just want the handle to be big enough to put their whole hand through as close to the mug as they can so they can get the warmth off the mug, especially in the winter.
Yeah.
These pumpkin spice latte drinkers.
Hey, you can't say shit about that now, Donte. You just told me how you had a pumpkin spice latte and you liked it.
The person in my kitchen made a pumpkin spice latte and it was lit. It was double Dutch bussin', as the kids say.
Double. We say that one more time.
Double Dutch bussin'.
Double Dutch bussin'?
Yeah, like the double Dutch bus, but bussin'.
What's a double Dutch bus?
It's two buses.
What?
It's double Dutch bus.
I don't get it.
No?
No.
It's a boomer song. Never mind. I'm a boomer. Yeah.
You're...
How about Bussosaurus Rex? There you go.
I prefer the Bussosaurus Rex. I'm sorry. Okay. I will say with yes, there is a lot of variety.
There's too much individualism.
Yeah, but I feel like some general rule in terms of function though, I feel like there are some general things.
This is weird because usually I'm on the side of generality and you're on the side of specifics.
Now
I'm like, there's too much specifics to handle. And you're like, no, there's general rules.
Well, because I'm thinking the other side of the spectrum of non-functional handles. Let me so I'll pull this up for some reference. So when I think of artists who prioritize style over function is artists like Kate Schroeder. So she is Kate Schroeder Ceramics on Instagram, and she does the kind of pieces where she makes almost like miniature vignettes along the outside of her cups with miniature plants and stuff. I'm actually...
Oh, is that the one that has a clearish blue?
Bookshelf. It's like this.
Okay, I've never seen her, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so she...
That's a handle?
It's a quote-unquote handle.
It's very artistic.
It's almost like more functional sculpture.
Yeah, if I held it by what would perceive to be the handle, I assume that would not go well.
It may not work. Yeah. Another artist whose style of handle is largely linked to the overall aesthetic of their cup, and it's less focused on function, but it's still functional, is Red Divider. So it's on Instagram. I'll just list it in the show notes. But Red Divider makes like sci-fi and like kind of creature-inspired handles. I love this dude's work. Like, it's freaking awesome.
Of course you do. You love the creature.
Of course I do. Yeah. Another artist I'll throw out for reference whose work is still very stylistic, but a little bit more towards like the functionality or their Instagram handle is Demirci Art. Again, I'll list it in the show notes. But these are all artists who I think of, their handles are very much a part of the overall, like, they're very stylistic.
Yeah.
Right?
And they go with the cup usually, I assume.
Yes. And they're stylistically cohesive, but they may not necessarily be the quote unquote most functional like pieces. Like they're all like functional, but compared to an artist like Florian Gadsby or Sarah Pike.
Yes.
So Sarah Pike Pottery and then, Florian Gadsby, both of those artists have mug handles that are like stylistically still cohesive with their cup.
Yes.
But more focused on a simplistic style as opposed to a more complex style.
Well, I
complex meaning like, I guess, elaborate, I should maybe say.
Yeah. I assume in the realm of functionality, your job is to first and foremost make them comfortable and strong.
Yeah.
And at least somewhat cohesive with the cup. But if you're going towards the more stylistic side, it's like, well, I really hope nobody uses this handle. Looks cool though.
Yeah, and there has
to be a mix.
And there's room for that too. Like there's room for,
Oh, you know what I just thought of?
Tell me.
You know those people, those beginners in class who are always like obsessed with octopus? You know what I'm talking about? And so what they do is they make a handle.
Yeah.
And then they're like, this is artistic. And they always get a little ball of clay and they'll attach to the handle in different sizes.
I mean, those are super cute though. I love those.
And then they'll put a little divot with their pin tool or whatever.
Yeah.
Or the end of their pin tool, and they'll put it, and it looks like little suction cups. And they're like, I made an octopus handle.
Why are you?
You're not different.
Why are you shysting on those people? There's nothing wrong with that.
There's one of you every year.
Dude, low-key, I'm gonna be one of those people because I kind of want. I don't think any of my D&D group is gonna listen to this, but in case you are, forget that I've told you this.
Yeah.
But like, so we have this is a little bit of a tangent, but one of our players is this like crazy ass Circle of the Moon druid, and he often transforms into an octopus that like rages, and his character name is Gulp. So when
it's too much hentai.
Oh no, wait. It's Gulp. It's Gulp. I know.
Yeah.
So when he transforms into an octopus, we call him Big Gulp. And so I kind of want to make some cups with octopus handles that say Big Gulp on them.
I hail from the land of 7-Eleven.
I know.
Big Gulp.
Big Gulp.
Is my name.
Anyway, I hear what you're saying. Like, yes, it's like anything else, like the bubble technique.
Yeah, there's phases.
But I don't know. I wouldn't call them phases necessarily because I wouldn't call them a phase because that implies that there's a linear way in which you learn ceramics, and that's not necessarily the case.
It's not linear.
Yeah, but it's like a prevailing or popular decorative style.
It's a technique that you're gonna have to experiment with for a certain amount of time, and that's how my brain says phase, I guess. But not to say that phase is that it has to be linear, because like I haven't gone through my bubble. Well, I kind of have. I did it once or twice, and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like right now I'm going through my organic phase. Not to say that people who start off with organic phase, like it's not, you're right,
okay.
it's not linear.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's like chaos linear, where it's like you're gonna go through, if you live long enough, you will experiment in this phase. But you'll probably move on after 100 years. If you lived long enough. I don't want you to stay there though. I don't know. There's some people stay, some people live there.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it, but some people really do be like, I made one cup. I'm gonna make this type of cup for the next 20 years.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know.
All I'm gonna do.
I don't know. Honestly, like, I don't see a problem with that. Like, once I discovered stamps, I'm like, yo, this is great. One last thing I want to say about handles that I wanted to mention earlier, but that I didn't, is when you're making handles, I feel like people tend to do a more like flat style, like where the cup or where the handle is wider than it is like thick. Yeah. So almost more kind of like a slab, but not really.
Yeah.
And then some people do more of like a circular.
I do a circular.
Yeah. You do a more like circular style. Mm-hmm. Last thing I'll say is that you can also add handles that aren't even made out of clay. Like there's an artist on.
A little bit of glue goes a long way.
This is true. No, for sure.
A little bit.
For sure though.
Well, in the microwave, it does fine.
Well, it depends on what you're.
You gotta use Gorilla Glue.
Glue, yeah.
You gotta use. Can't use bad glue. You gotta use Gorilla Glue or like. Good glue.
But for some reference for folks to check out, there's an Instagram account called One Ceramic, and I saved this artist a while ago, so I can't remember what their name is. But One Ceramic, they actually use like metal bits.
That's hot.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I guess in summary, I'll say that ultimately...
This is a lot of run around.
It's a lot. We talked about a lot. We talked about different ways of making handles and the benefit, like pros and cons of each of those. We talked about, style and function. Mm-hmm. What the hell else did we talk about? This is a long episode.
We talked about you mug cuddlers out there.
Mug cuddlers, yeah.
You should feel bad.
You shouldn't feel bad.
I'm sorry.
Do what you want to do with handles. I feel like ultimately my message, my homework for you guys is to experiment, try different things, and also
Are we giving homework?
Yeah, we are. Why not?
Oh,
you don't have to do it. I'm not gonna grade you.
No, you have to do mine.
I ain't gonna grade you.
I'm gonna grade you.
Okay. That actually would be kind of fun if we did like Mud Peddlers homework and then people could post and like tag us and stuff.
Okay, my homework is for you to try and copy someone else's handle.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, and then see how it comes out. Because whenever people try other people's artwork, and it's a little more, I don't want to say elaborate, but it's a little more out of the range of what you're used to. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, your style comes out even when you try and copy the work. It's not like you guys facsimilate it exactly. And you often find a whole new style of work. So my homework for you is to make a couple mugs, make 5. And then,
not even 5, even just one, because not everybody has time to make 5 different mugs.
Okay, not everybody has time. And make as many as you have time for without going to like 20.
Yeah.
And then try and facsimilate someone else's handle that is out of the range of out of the scope of what you usually do.
Yeah. And then tag the artist if you post it like on
Tag the artist.
Yeah.
Give him credit.
Tag the artist. And then also tag Donte and I to be like, hey, this is Mud Peddlers.
We gotta make a Mud Peddlers Instagram.
No, I still think having it be like
an
both
individual?
Yeah, because I don't want to have to manage a whole other social media account.
No, you're right.
People know it's us. Like tag the both of us, just anyway, if you
don't message us. Tag us on a post.
Yeah.
There's so many times I tell people to like, oh yeah, I do a thing, and they send me a big long essay in my DMs, and I'm like, this doesn't help.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Well, and if you guys like this idea, like, let us know, because that actually would be really fun to have. Like, and I can do it too. We can all do it a little homework assignment.
Okay, we're gonna go. Lindsay's razzled up now.
Oh, I'm so
She's
excited.
frazzled. She's.
And that's it for today. Thank you for listening to The Mud Peddlers with Lindsey M Dillon
and Donte of Earth Nation.
Want to say hi and see what Donte and I are working on in our studios? Check out the show notes for links to our websites and social media below. You can find me at lindseymdillon.com. That's LINDSEY, M as in monster, DILLON.com. And on Etsy, Instagram, and Facebook at Lindsey M Dillon.
And you can find me at Earth Nation Ceramics. It's spelled exactly how you think it's spelled, but you can also find me on my Facebook fan page and Instagram at the same name at Earth Nation Ceramics.
If you enjoyed hanging out with us today, or you have a question or topic you'd like us to discuss, take a second to rate and review the Mud Peddlers in Apple Podcasts. It helps our podcast reach new listeners, and we really appreciate the feedback. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time.